just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host all the way from Tucson, Patricia Kirkman. PK, how are you tonight?
Absolutely fabulous. I can't wait for the show tonight.
This is going to be, I think, our most exciting show of the year.
Well, it will be. Good friends, old friends get together and harass each other to get information. We're going to wring every bit of information out of him.
We are. We have the best of the best tonight.
Right.
We have, in our opinion, the top psychic medium in the world. This evening is going to be earth-shattering for everybody listening. We have with us George Lugo. He is a dear friend of ours. We have the utmost respect for him. He is tremendously talented, and he has read for people all over the world. And tonight we're going to hear what he's been up to, who he's been talking to, and the adventures he has had on the other side. And we are also going to ask him about what he picks up on regarding this soft disclosure that's been going on. Because we've been discussing this now for weeks, trying to get to the bottom of why now? Why are they throwing this stuff at us in this time and on these days? What for? So we're going to get to a lot of stuff tonight. Missing people. Also, we're going to talk about that, and we will be happy to take your questions in the chat room. Now, George is not going to do any live readings, but you can reach him for live readings, for your own personal and private reading at crystalgatereadings.com. And so, we got to start with the numbers, though, right, PK? What's going on?
Well, we know, firstly, that this is a month where a lot of people are very uptight, a lot of anger is going on and going around. And today people are trying to make everything perfect, and it's not happening. We're getting a little opportunity to see what's taking place around us, but nothing seems like it's fitting. We're taking a look at what's coming up because information is coming. We find that the retrograde will be over in within the next few days, which will be good because everything to do with communication has been crappy. I guess that's the nicest way I can put it. People have been having between breakdowns of communication of all forms, everything from computers to you name it, cars, everything. And we forget that cars have computer chips in them now. So we're having more people having problems with that. And I had somebody said, well, I just bought a new car. And I said, take it back. It's not going to. He said, well, let me see. And I said, I'll look up. And I said, you're not. Only if you're born in a retrograde do things go well for you. Take the car back. So she's taking it back because there's no way it's not going to give her problems, especially with the personal year she's in on top of it. In a 9-year, you don't go out and buy a brand new car.
So 2 more days and we'll pretty much have this behind us,
right,
which is a great thing.
Well, think about the shadow period. There's going to be that little bit of dusting and cleaning in between. So that's not bad.
Right.
But it's the information that's coming. January is going to deal with a lot of creativity, but communications of all forms are going to be thrown at us. And it's going to start actually just about sometime after the 25th. It's going to start tiptoeing out, and then there's going to be stuff brought out to us that everybody's been saying it's coming, but we don't want to listen. Or the government says, oh, let's pretend it didn't happen. It's happening.
Well, it is because they're letting things out very slowly, but they are bringing some bigger stories out in mainstream media, in the New York Times. They're letting one of their colonels talk about their sighting of a UFO while he was flying. I mean, there are more and more stories coming out, but only because they're allowing it. The question is why? Why now, after all this time of beating up on abductees and trying to make them look stupid and all these people that have spotted these things in the skies? Why now? So we're going to talk to George about that. We're going to get all of his insight. But I just want to also talk a little bit about some of the things that we have on our website. So if you guys are looking for books, we have the Opus Mago Kabbalisticum, which is an English translation, the only English translation of a very old theosophical book. And that's been, this is a book that Lon Duquette found in this library that he said was like the Harry Potter Hogwarts library in a place hidden away from the world. Nobody even knows how to get to this place except they blindfolded Lon and took him there. And this book was there. We have it for sale on our website. You can buy it at Amazon, actually, and it is, again, called the Opus Mago Kabbalisticum. Now, I hate to bring this subject up, but property taxes, right around the corner. They're setting their values, their rates. I know, see? It's a terrible thing. But it's a system we're stuck with. But there's a great book we have also on our website called Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. So great Christmas present for anybody who owns property. You really need to check your property record card. Do you even know how to read it or how to find it? This book would tell you how. So we have lots of other things on the website, including a new sponsor.
Yes.
This is what keeps us on the air. We have Astridian. They are a wonderful cosmetic company. They provide skin treatment that is literally supernatural. It's out of this world. It does things no other skin cream can do, and it's on sale right now. So you can find that on our homepage. You can go and visit their homepage and see if you want to try some of their products. They are highly recommended. They're excellent. I can't even tell you all the great things they do because the FDA would come in and give me a hard time. So I'm just going to tell you it's the best product line I've ever found. And believe me, I tried a lot of them. So the name of it is Astridian, Astridian. It's on our homepage. Okay. Well, we're going to get started here with our tremendous guest, and we're so excited to have him here because, like we said, this guy, he is the best of the best. We love all of the psychic mediums we've had on our show, and we have the deepest respect for them, but George stands alone. I mean, he is just, there's nobody else like him. So we're lucky enough to have him with us tonight. George Lugo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow, what an introduction. Boy.
Now you have to live up to it.
My mom talks about me like that. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's much deserved. Much deserved, George.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit. Let's get started with, we know you've had a lifelong experience with this. You were basically born into this world of the psychic medium, and you've also had your own UFO experiences. So tell us, in what order this started in your life?
Well, the mediumship started right before I was born. That's when it started. And I remember those. I remember that time before I was born, just before I was born is when I had my first experience. And then after that, you know, just I remember being born. I remember all of that. I remember growing up with it. There was no vocabulary for it, so it was kind of frightening in the beginning. I didn't know what to call it. All these visitations and, you know, from souls and spirits, I could see them all over the place, you know, just everywhere. And I was terrified in the beginning. Then I finally learned that I was there to help them and the people that they were attached to. So I started doing it. And I was a professional musician, traveled the world 7 times. And in those travels, I met lots of people that are of like mind, like heart. Even though there was a language barrier, somehow we were able to speak to each other. These are real people I'm talking about. Holy men from like India and monks from Japan and Aborigines from Australia, Native Americans from here. Just for some reason, I've always been attracted, or they're attracted to me and they come to me because I can't speak their language, but yet we have this telepathic way of speaking with each other and knowing all these things, and they've been a big help to help me understand what it is I'm going through. And then UFOs, you know. Yeah,
now when did the UFO experiences start as far as you can recall?
When I was very young. I must have been kindergarten, and that's when I remember a couple of things. I'm not sure about it. Well, I think I was abducted once for sure, but visited by them, yeah, for sure. I know I was. And back then there wasn't any vocabulary, or, little green men and all that stuff. Yeah, I've had brushes with them, definitely.
At one time you were taken with other children, right?
Yeah. There was a time I was in junior high school, and this friend of mine said, "Hey, let's go fishing. I know a great place to go." So I went with him, and I used to live out in the San Joaquin Valley in California, and gigantic agricultural area. So these fields are huge, like oceans. Anyway, we're driving out there, and there was this clump of trees in the distance. So we drove there. It was almost sundown, and we pull up, and there's about 3 or 4 other cars kind of tucked by the trees, and this river that ran underneath those trees, and that was a good fishing hole. So we're sitting in this car, and we're facing west, and the sun's just over the horizon, so there's still light in the sky, but the sun's down. And we see this orange ball coming out of the south, and it's heading north. And we both saw it. We said, "Look at that. What is that?" And I said, "I don't know." So he thought when he got in front of the car, it was, maybe 100 miles away or so, he flashed his lights at it from his car, and this round orange thing just stopped. And then it started getting larger and larger and larger. And all of a sudden, I noticed that the trees around where the cars were parked were shimmering in this kind of orange shine. And the guys that were underneath the trees were going, "What is that? What is that?" And the next thing I remember is that we were all about 30 miles away, walking single file in the foothills on a moonless night. And I remember kind of like coming to, because I could hear the crunching of the gravel, the guy in front of me and the guy behind me, and we were just all in single file and just walking in the middle of nowhere. And this pickup truck pulls up, and he says, "What are you guys doing out here?" And he had a gun with him. And the guy that was leading, probably about 7 of us, the first guy in line, he stopped. He says, "We're going home." That's all I remember him saying. And he says, "Well, get in the back of the truck." So we all got in the back of the truck, and he took us down to our hometown, which was, a long ways away. And after that, we never spoke to each other again, these boys and us. Even the guy that I went with, he ended up dying like a year later.
Oh, no.
And some of the other guys died too. But none of us talked about it. We didn't even acknowledge each other. Like we weren't even friends anymore. We just totally avoided each other. I thought that was really strange. And then I noticed that I had something in the back of my neck, behind my right ear, in the lobe where the bone is. I felt a little something there. So I didn't know what it was at first, and later I learned that it's probably an implant of some sort, because there was a buzzing feeling to it, a tiny little vibration feeling to it, or a frequency to it, and it would sort of. It never hurt, but I just noticed that it was there, and I would touch it, and my finger would go on it. I would kind of feel the shape of it, and it was sort of rectangular and pretty thin. So I had that for years and years, and then it went away. And then just recently, probably 4 months ago or so, I felt it again, but this time it's in a different location on my body. It's on my back. And there's 4 lines and 2 little dots next to it. It looks like almost like a barcode. It's really strange, and it's actually a little bit larger than my first implant, but I know it is. I just know it is, and I've been digging at it, and
Oh, no.
I can feel it. And
Take a picture of it, George.
Yeah, I've had it checked out, and they're just going, "I don't know what that is." And nobody seems to know what it is, but no one's going to cut it out. They don't want to touch it. He said, "Well, if it's not really bothering you, let's just leave it there and see what happens." I'm thinking, well, could it have been a spider bite or something? He said, "No, it's not a spider bite. It's something underneath your skin." I'm going, huh. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, here's a question from the chat room. This is from Bailey Shaw, who wants to know, can you tell us what year and location this happened?
The year had to have been around 72, around there is when I had that implant from that first time when I went fishing with those guys. It was around that time, around 72-ish, I think, around 72. Yeah.
And this happened in where in California?
Oh, in California, Northern California. Right. Yeah. Up, I would say San Joaquin Valley, up near Stockton, Modesto, that area. It's up there.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So, you know, as I mentioned to you a long time ago, Dr. Andrej Puharich has always said behind every great psychic is an extraterrestrial. So
wow.
You certainly fit that. But now what we're facing, and we're going to get into some of your experiences with the afterlife, but we are now experiencing soft disclosure. There's been story after story in mainstream media talking about different aspects of UFOs and government programs with Robert Bigelow and things like that. But everybody's asking the same question. Why now? We all know it's real. Okay, so our audience members certainly know. We all know that UFOs, ETs, interdimensionals, they're all real. But suddenly the government's kind of doling out these little stories for us. But what do you feel the reason is behind all of that? Why now?
I just feel that the Earth is kind of maxed out in a lot of areas, and we would need that type of intelligence to like correct a lot of our wrongs on this Earth. I mean, with chemtrails going on, you know, they've been going on since what, 86 they started, and globally, and what that's caused, and just all the different things, all the experimenting we've done underground, all the things that we've done to this Earth has kind of thrown it off balance. And they probably have the technology to straighten all that out. But all this news that's coming out now about UFOs and sightings, I mean, that's old news, you know, that's been around since time, you know. So it's just that people want to believe in their government and they want to trust them and all that. So now it's gotten to the point where I also think that it's the media, you know, everyone's got a cell phone and a camera and a video camera and all that, and people are taking pictures, and there's just no denying it. I mean, there are a lot of fakes out there, don't get me wrong, but there are some legitimate things that are being seen and done now. And the government, I don't think you have a choice. I think they have to come out, you know, and now they're doing it. So give it another 6 months and see what happens. There's going to be a lot going on, and it's going to throw a lot of belief systems on their ear, you know. So we'll see how that goes, you know, as far as religion goes, how we do business, everything. It's going to affect everything. But I do feel that there's good out of this, and we will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
If they could come clean. I mean, the concern is, and this is some of the stuff we've seen all over the internet about it, is that the government usually likes to take things and turn it into something nefarious, something they can use against us rather than for our benefit. So some people are saying, are they trying to set up a false flag? Are they trying to set up this fear of aliens, that they're real and they're going to come and attack us or, you know, eat us or some darn thing?
If that was the case, they could have done that a long time ago. I mean, if they had that kind of technology, they could have just wiped us all out. You know, just it had been so fast. But I feel that they want to work alongside of us. We just have to wrap our head around it because it's going to be very different. You know, we're going to have to listen to a lot of new, not just new thinking, but new doing. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be changing for us as a globe, as a world, and you'll see it. And for the most part, I believe it's going to be good. I really feel it's going to be good. So some new changes.
I think it will be too. Yeah, I mean, as long as it comes out and it's truly out in the open. But that's been the big concern, is the way our government does things. It's not always out in the open.
Right.
And there's always some other agenda. So
that's called the hidden. Yeah, that's called the hidden.
Definitely.
It's the guy behind the curtain, you know. So
right.
they want to keep that from being raised, and it's just gotten to the point now where everything's becoming pretty much transparent. And I have to say, since I was in media at one point, media does create a lot of this type of static and a lot of, wash and all that, and a lot of spin on everything. But it's gotten to the point now people are more savvy. They know what's going on. Even some of the disbelievers are being kind of thinking, well, all of this, it just can't be false, not all of it. And we have trillions and billions and trillions of planets and stars. How can we be the only one,
Exactly.
living like this? And if, they say we use 10% of our brain, if that's the case, I mean, is this all we've created? That's it? This is it? So I know that we use more than that. But, I believe that they're going to heal the planet. I feel that they would come and they would heal the planet. They have to coexist with us. And so I feel that they would do some healing of the planet, and they have the technology to do it. Not, different from what we know, different from what we conceive. And I know the government already knows all that. And so,
they definitely do.
Yeah. So it's to our benefit as a people. It's just that belief systems are going to be changed somewhat. There's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff. And not to worry. Everybody don't worry so much. It's going to be okay. You'll see.
Yeah, I think most of the people were looking forward to hearing the truth. They've known the truth all along. They just want to hear it out of the mouths of the people that have been denying it. For their own reasons and their own greed or whatever it is. So it would be a nice thing if it came to pass that way. And again, people are anxious to see this happen. But again, we are also asking some very good questions around why. Why all of a sudden are they going to divulge this? Now, one of the other theories that I've seen, and I tend to agree with, is that the extraterrestrials have given the governments of the world a deadline and saying to them, you need to disclose by a certain time. And if you don't, we will. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think that the government has done that with aliens, and they kind of have that deadline thing, and we just didn't really pay attention to it. We're trying to do it ourselves, and we just can't. We're antiquated. We're just, the way we do things is just old, and these aliens can just come in and go, listen, with a snap of my finger, I can almost, do almost anything. And they're going to change a lot of our thinking. And it'll be, I believe that we'll coexist. We are now.
Yes, we are. You're right. You're
that's
right.
the whole thing.
And but it'll be in a peaceful manner. They don't want to destroy this planet. They want to make it healthy again because they have to survive here too. And I really feel the first thing on their agenda is balancing the planet, getting it back together again. And it's gonna ruffle some feathers and all that, but that's okay. It'll pass. It'll be fine after that. Just got to hang on for a little bit. It might seem a little scary, but the more you know, the more you're informed and educated about it, the better it'll be for you. There's actually good times ahead, and we're at the point now, right at that crux where it has to change.
Yes.
Because us trying to find, we're already making plans of living on different planets, like building a station on the moon and Mars and all that, but we're a long ways from that, and so we need help right now. So they have the technology to do it.
Yes. Well, that's very good news, and we appreciate your insights on all of this because we know you're closer to it also, given your own experiences.
Yeah,
so,
and because of that, because I felt that I've always had that connection with them, my life has been really unusual in the sense, like when I was a kid, when a lot of kids would get together and play, I'd be laying on the lawn looking at the stars, just thinking, there's a bigger picture than what, like it's almost like receiving something from up there. When I was a little kid, it's like a knowing and being fed something all the time. And I used to make these predictions. I think I told you when I was in the third grade, we used to have to write every Monday. We had to write a little paragraph on what we did that weekend. A lot of kids, I went swimming. I played with my brother. I went to saw grandma, and here I am writing something about how we're going to be looking at TVs with typewriters in front of them. This is back like in '62, So, and then I also drew pictures of 9/11 back then. I also drew pictures of the fake gas crunch in the middle '70s and wrote about it. And my teacher would read it. She'd go to my desk first and go. She'd read that and she goes, "Where are you getting this? All right, go to the office and take this with you." So I had to visit the office every Monday. And that particular year, our principal happened to be an Indian chief, a Native American chief, and he was the principal. And he would call me in his office, and he would read it, and he goes, "Where are you getting this information?" And I said, "I don't know. I just sit down and it starts coming out." And he said, "If you were in my tribe, you'd be a roadman." And I didn't know what that was, and I didn't ask him. So I didn't find that out until much, much later after living in Arizona and meeting lots of Native Americans. And they told me what that. A road man is like a wise, holy man that goes from tribe to tribe. He's always on the road, and he goes from tribe to tribe, and he talks just to the elders, the council, not the people below them. And he talks to them, and he gives them information, and he helps them out, and he helps them with, healings and foresight, like vision quest, that kind of thing. And then he moves on to the next tribe. So he's always on the road. He's called a road man. And that's what he said. That's what I would have been if I was in his tribe.
Wow.
That's cute.
And
That's
also,
fascinating.
oh yeah, and that particular man, that principal, his family would do these Native American dances and for the school, and we'd go out on the blacktop where all the hoops were and sit on the ground as a class. And you would always pick me out and have me sit on the blacktop, and one of his relatives would dance around me doing the eagle dance, dance around me and all this, and they're chanting and beating drums, and it made me feel really special,
What an honor.
I felt really honored. So in every kind of situation like that, like I lived with the monks in Japan for a little while and the Aborigines for a little while, just getting pulled, from different places. I live out in Florida now, and I was going down 98. It's a major artery down here, and I was with a friend, and she said, "Hey, you want to have some Thai food?" And I said, "Sure." I know a place, and I had just arrived here, so I didn't know anything. So we go to this restaurant. There's about 7 people standing outside waiting to get in, and so we just followed them in. And there was a room to the left full of these monks, and so we were the last ones in. And as we were passing by, the monks all bowed to me, which I thought was really weird. Yeah, they just stood up and they bowed, and I bowed back to them, and I went and sat down. I just thought they were just doing that as a whole for all of us. And then the waitress comes over, and she says, "These monks want you to eat with them. Come and sit with them." So I did. I went and I sat with these guys. None of them can speak English. And the lead priest there put his robe over my arm. And the owner comes running up going, "No touchy, no touchy." I said, "I'm not touching them," and he spoke to her and said that, he's one of us. And so, I don't know. It's just things like that.
So guess what? You are a road man.
Yeah, I guess so, whether I like it or not.
I was going to say, ready or not, yes, you were.
Yeah.
Yes, you were, and you are. Isn't that fascinating?
It is. It is to me. I mean, it's something that it just comes this way, and I just have to go through the experience of it every time. So that's probably why I was a musician.
Yeah.
Able to travel and all that. So
that's right. It went hand in hand. Well, this is just you have such an exciting life, and you've helped so many people with your private readings. And it's just an amazing amount of people that you've met over the years, and you've got some great stories to tell us, I know. So I'm thinking, let's see, where should we start with all the stories that you have to tell? And one of the things that I know people have said about you, and I've said this myself, I know PK, you have too, you are very specific. You don't talk in generalities. You boil it down and you go, this is what's happening. And you're right. So one of the places I want to start with you after the break is with the story where a woman came for a reading and you knew that her husband was having an affair. So we're going to hear all of the details, about what told her and what then happened. I mean, obviously, we're not going to talk about anybody's names, but
of course not.
We're going to give our audience, we're going to give our audience all the particulars that we can, so they can get a feel for how great you are at what you do. And so that's what we're going to start with when we come back. So anybody who has a question for George, please ask it in the chat room. That's irnchat.com, irnchat.com. Make sure you visit our Facebook page at Supernatural Girls with a Z. Give us a like, follow us, so you can see all the wonderful things we've got on that page. All things weird and wonderful you will find there. So stay tuned, everybody. We are going to take a very short break. You are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio, and we will be right back.
John, just because it's summer doesn't mean you can sit around on your backside all day.
Skip.
You never take me anywhere.
Skip. Man, I'm telling you, go paleo. It'll change your life. Skip. Don't get stuck with sounds you don't want to hear. Get Spotify Premium free with Vodafone X Music, plus 20 gigs of 4G data for just €20 top-up. Fuel your beats with free Spotify Premium. Search Vodafone X to find out more. For full terms, conditions and limitations, including our fair usage policy, see Vodafone.ie.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I am your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our amazing guest tonight, who we dearly love, George Lugo, a very famous psychic medium. And we did promise you we were going to start with a blockbuster story about a woman that came to see you, George, and what happened?
Yeah, well, she came to see me, and the typical, reading. Wasn't expecting anything, different. She sat down in front of me. I took her hands for a moment, tapped in, and as soon as I took her hands, off the left side of myself, I saw this woman hit me in the arm with a rolling pin, a white rolling pin, and she just looked really stern. And she gave me a location, and that the woman that I was reading for needed to go there because there was something she needed to see herself. And she was angry, and I could literally feel that rolling pin on my arm, on my bicep. And I told her about it, and she just goes, okay, She goes, I know where that is. I said, you need to knock on the door, and I told her the number of it. And she says, okay, I'll do that. So after that, someone kind of backed off. She was always in the background, like tapping her foot, like waiting for her to leave. So I gave her the rest of the reading. She left. Went to this place that was her mother, by the way. That was her mother that came in with that rolling pin. And
others are like that.
Yeah. She went to this location and knocked on the door, and she thought to put her finger on the peephole. So she put her finger on the peephole. That way they would answer it. Well, this lady answered the door. And sitting behind this lady on the couch, butt naked, was her husband. And he jumped up and ran to the back of the apartment and was yelling and screaming and all this. And then he finally came out and he's yelling at his wife, and what are you doing here? And he's been having this affair for 6 years. And so it finally came to an end. And so she just told me, she told me all about it. And he wanted to know how she found this out. And she didn't really say anything, and he just grabbed the phone out of her hand. Oh, what she had done was recorded it. And I told her not to record because too many things will happen during recordings. Sometimes you hear the souls that are coming through on the recording when you do it with me. Other times it's just information that somebody else might hear and be offended. Well, that seems to be the case here. So he found the recording, played it back, and then called my office and threatened to kill me, that I had ruined his marriage and all this stuff. And, it was all my fault.
Of course.
And I said,
what an idiot that guy was.
Yeah, your mother-in-law is the one that blew the whistle on you. So anyway, that was one of them. That was one of many, many readings.
And that's so amazing because, again, you were able to provide an exact location, the number on the apartment door, where it was, and telling us when you need to go there. I mean, I know very few psychic mediums who could give that kind of specific information, right, PK? That's
definitely
amazing.
Usually when I do like a big group reading of like 80 people, 30 people, 100, 300 people, whatever, I don't just like, okay, I see a blue pickup. Who has a blue pickup? Half the room raises their hands, right? Yeah, process of elimination. I go right to you. I just go first person. I do very short little clip readings, just bam, 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 all the way down the line until I'm done. So I don't waste people's time, with all that stuff. And
exactly.
And
it makes a big difference.
It can be boring for everyone else. Like, when's it going to get to me? When's it going to notice me?
But, George, it isn't boring to other people because what you're doing is you're validating your value to give them the correct information.
Yeah,
so
I know.
They know that when you do get to them, it is correct.
Yeah, but when you got 80
very
people.
Specific.
Yeah.
You're willing to wait to get the right answers.
Yeah. There was one time where this man was in the very back of the room, the very last chair in the corner, and he looked like a typical office geek and had a short sleeve yellow shirt on with a pocket protector, the black frame glasses. Yeah, and he had his hair parted to the side, and he was real skinny, and he was just kind of sitting there. And I just kept getting drawn to him, and I was on the first row of about maybe 40 people, and I saw 7 horses standing around this guy, and I could see from the chest up and the heads are beautiful horses. And I finally just went to him and I said, "Sir, I have to tell you this because I have to tell you this. There are 7 horses standing around you." And he just started crying. You would have thought that he had lost his mother or something. I mean, he just went crazy and just cried and cried and cried. Story was, his brother used to race horses at Kentucky Derby and places like that. And then after a certain while, he can't race him anymore. So he would send him out to Arizona to live on his brother's ranch. And he knew nothing about horses. So he just collected them. So he had all of these horses. He had 7 horses he became friends with. And in the morning, he would go out on the back of his lot there, and way in the distance was a tree line, and there was a river that ran through there. And the horses would stay there to stay cool and drink water and all this. And one morning he went out there, and he's whistling, and they usually come flying out of the trees to come eat. And they didn't. So he whistled again. Then he honked his truck horn. So then nothing. So he drove down there, and all 7 horses were poisoned. Somebody poisoned them all.
Oh, no.
And so these horses were all, yeah. So these horses all showed up just to let them know that they were okay. So things like that. So
so heartbreaking. Oh
yeah,
my God.
Yeah. So he was really, really happy to know that they were okay. So that's how I read. I mean, I don't, I'm not fishing. I don't look for obvious things, and I just come right out, and it just comes out. I can't help it.
Yeah.
So
that when people come to you and they're looking for assistance, do you give them that feel? Well, I know because you and I have been friends for so many years, that you give them that feeling of security, that they walk away feeling it's okay. Like we were talking about someone that was lost, or someone that was passing away, or people that were aware of it, how you're able to direct them when a person is lost, how to find that individual they're looking for, whether it's alive or dead. There was an instance like that, wasn't there? Not too far back.
Right. So when someone comes to me, I usually tell them, expect nothing, ask for nothing. That way you're wide open. Because some come, I want to talk to my dad, just my dad. I don't give a crap about Uncle Frankie and Aunt Louise, And I said, but they're important to you, and they got things they want to say to you, So I'll start talking and describing them and their mannerisms and things they've said or experiences they've had with them. And what I'll do in my own mind, I'm always asking them questions, not saying it to the person that I'm reading for, is that I'll just say, go find this soul that this man wants to talk to, or this woman wants to talk to. Please help me out here. And they do. And they'll go out there, and I'd say about 80% of the time they do bring them. Unless, they just don't come for some reason. But there's always souls around you. Everyone has them. Everyone has them. There's no doubt about it. So, yeah. The only difference is that no more body, just a soul.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, many times when we feel a feeling that someone's around us, and you can feel their presence, and you turn and they're not there. And one time you said to me, don't move your whole body, just shift your eyes, and you'll be able to catch more of a glimpse.
You can do that. Yeah. There is a way that I've learned myself. I learned this at a very early age, how to connect with souls yourself. And the way to do it that I found the most effective is first thing in the morning when you wake up. And you get up because you got to go to the bathroom. So go do that and get back in bed. And then the person that you want to visit with, you put them in your mind's eye. You see them clear in your head and start falling asleep. Start going to sleep. And you see them in your mind's eye. Start pouring your love towards them. And it can't be like, happy love in the beginning, then it kind of falls off because they're not showing up right away. Don't let it fall down, because if you do that, they'll notice that and they'll back right off. You got to keep your love happy and kind of going up. And so just stay in that frame of mind. Keep pouring your love towards them. See them in your mind's eye. Ask only one question. The question is, do you have a message for me? And so when the souls only give you what you can handle, So the age that they died, they usually, if you see them at that age, they'll look perfect. Not a blem on them. They're totally healthy, just glowing, or they're younger. They have the tendency to get younger. And when you see them, if they put their arms out, like give me a hug, go ahead and do it. Put your arms around them, hug them, and for a moment, you will feel no pain. All your bodily pain will be gone. There is no future. There is no past. You're going to feel what it feels like for them where they are, and it's going to be absolutely, it's beyond words, but it's amazing. And then you'll be asking lots of questions, and eventually they're going to say, I've got to go now. You have to let me go. And you need to let them go, because if you don't let them go, they'll dissolve in your arms. So just let them go, and then you'll feel yourself being pulled back and sort of in an up feeling, like you're drifting up. And that's when you're starting to come back into this world. And you can ask a few more questions because you're still kind of connected to them. And they're going to do whatever they're going to do. They'll fade out, or they'll walk away, or they'll smile, or they'll say, I'll see you again, or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're going to come back into the physical world, this world. And all your physical pain will come back. It'll just, boom, hit you. And you'll just go, oh, I'm back. But you'll have the residue of what it felt like where you just were with them. And it'll make you cry. And yeah, it's great. It's a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling. Yeah. And you can repeat this process, so.
Yeah, it sounds like a practice you could just start to do every night if you'd like. Now,
I rarely tell that to anyone, but I'm telling you guys, your listeners and all that. It's a good way to do it.
That is a great way to do it. Now, we had an interesting experience, George, because I was contacted by a woman whose son went missing. And I said to her, there's only one person that I'm going to refer you to, and that's George Lugo. So she called you. And do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, she called me, and she didn't give me much information, but I just said, I see this kid, he's, a teenager, maybe 17, 18. Yeah, he happened to be 17. I said, I see him probably 2.5, 3 miles away from home. And she said, yeah, he just got up, he cleared his hard drive on his computer, took everything off it, cleaned everything up so he couldn't be found on nothing left of him. And he left that morning. And she just felt bad about it. She felt something was wrong, and he left. And he ended up taking a shotgun with him, a sawed-off shotgun.
Which you saw, because she didn't tell you that. You saw that. Yes.
I saw all that. And I said, and he's not coming back. I said, he's not going to come back. I said, you need to look for a service road that has the number 91, or I can't remember, 91 or 61 on it. It's way back in the woods, and there's a little service bridge, and he's covered in leaves. That he's going to be covered in leaves when you find him. And she's like crying, going, no, he's got to come back. And I said, I'm sorry, that's what I'm getting. I hope to God he walks through that door in his time now, and it'll be all over. But I don't feel that's going to happen. And he will be found, and he'll be covered in leaves. And sure enough, man, 7 months later, I just got a call, just a few days ago, and it was the mom, and she was crying, and she says, they found my son exactly where you said he was going to be, and he was near some rocks. The only thing that was missing was the gun, so they don't know what happened to the shotgun, but and he just skeletal remains. But I saw it all, and I just didn't.
So sad.
Yeah, it's just really, really sad. So those are the kind of things that I don't, like. But I do work with different agencies and that once in a while.
Yeah, I know you weren't very happy with me that I sent you that case.
Yeah, I know. I was going to go, thanks a lot.
What did it do to me? But, and I understand that because it was so emotional for you. It was emotional for me. But you saw the whole thing. You saw that he shot himself.
Yeah, he shot himself. Yeah, he shot himself.
Did you also pick up on why? Did you get any information on it?
He was just depressed. He was just squeezed. He had no friends. I felt like he had no friends at all. I was kind of, was a really good-looking kid, and just 17 years old and a good-looking guy and extremely brilliant, smart man, smart kid, and had a bright future. But he was just there are other details I can't disclose, but he just he just couldn't cope with it anymore.
Wow.
And he didn't have a drug problem. He didn't have a drinking problem, a drug problem, nothing like that at all. He just had some issues. He had a hole in his heart. He had an emotional hole in his heart that he couldn't fill. And so this is the way he exited. Yeah, it's terrible. But he's okay. He's in the light.
Do you feel there's more suicide attempts now than we've ever had before?
Yeah, that'll pass too. The numbers will start balancing out again. They'll start going the other direction. There'll be less of that. But yeah, there's just a lot of little boats out there without rudders, and they're having a tough time.
Well, what maybe even ask that, George, is because, as you know, we've talked about the fact we're going into a 2 universal year, but it's an 11-2, so it deals with a lot of high spirituality, but it deals with a tremendous amount of sensitivity. And a lot of people don't know how to cope with that. What would be a suggestion for you doing what you do for them to get a coping tool?
A coping tool would be like, really, if you're a drinker, stop. If you do a lot of drugs, stop. Start working out. It's really try to get back into your healthy zone. That'll help you a lot. That'll take care of a lot of depression. That'll take care of a lot of that kind of stuff. But I really feel like try to get yourself healthy again. And then whatever your belief system is, use that to help you. If if you're a Catholic or a whatever, a Buddhist, whatever, use that to help guide you out of that, and do positive things. Yeah. Force yourself into doing positive things. Make yourself get a routine going, things of that nature. Find yourself. And it's interesting because when you start doing that, your gifts begin to show. You'll start noticing that you have things that you didn't realize were there or sort of dormant, but now they're coming out. Everyone has a lot of gifts, and we need to just kind of relax and let them happen. Don't overthink it. Everybody thinks too much. Just relax, cool out, man. Just think a little less and just use your heart more than your head. Maybe your heart always steers you in the right direction. It's our minds that get us all.
Good advice.
That's exactly. I always say, don't listen to this one. Listen to this one.
Yeah,
because that's where it basically comes from. But I've noticed more and more people that I've spoken with of late are going into that sad, oh, woe was me feeling of not knowing how to go forward or feeling abandoned or misused or abused.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You just have to fight your way back.
It's good to hear
from you. Nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to die.
Good.
And I get a lot of suicides too that come in and come out, and there's no penalty for what they've done. Only the fact that they have to feel what they left behind, like the immediate family. How much it hurt them. That kind of thing. And then the what ifs, everyone's saying, if I only had talked to him, if I'd only hung out with him, if I only helped him, and it doesn't matter. When they're in that mindset, they're just going to do it. They don't want to die. They want to live. They just can't figure out how to do it anymore. And they're overwhelmed. And so they do it. But there is no penalty that I've ever seen.
That's good to know, because I think a lot of parents, when they go through, they lose, particularly today, there's so many children dying through drugs or whatever, quote, accidental suicide, if you want to call it that.
Right.
But the parents have to live through it afterwards. And the feeling that there is no penalty for it makes it a little easier for the parent to let go. And parents, they really need to let go. I mean, you need to celebrate their life and not mourn their life, because there was some. And as parents, we do the best we can to give our children the pearls of wisdom that we've learned. And whether they use them or not, it's kind of up to them. But they're walking their own path. It's their path they're walking. And
that's exactly right. Yes, exactly. Well, here's a question, and this is from the chat room. I want to get to it.
Sure.
This is from Katniss, who says, "Hi, George. Do you get any kind of tingly or sensory cues before these visions pop into your head about someone?"
Yeah, at times they do. Yeah, at times I will. I could pass someone, and all of a sudden I just get this whole wave of visuals, and I just kind of go, oh. But see, I don't approach people just in the, out in public. I don't walk up to them and say, hey, guess what? Blah, blah, blah. To me, that's like a psychic attack,
Right.
I mean, I don't think you should do that. You should get permission first, because you don't know how they're going to react.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I just don't really say anything unless somehow the soul will give me the permission to do it and show me a way to connect with him. And then I'll do it. But that's the only way I'll do it. But yeah, I do get kind of a little bit of a tingly feeling. It's a knowing. You get this feeling of knowing and your intuition. So, yeah. It's a double-edged sword. It really is. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, definitely. I know what you've been through.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
This is from Brian Gresham in the chat room, who's asking, is there a shelf life for people who have passed on to be able to connect to a medium, like a time window where they can still make a connection to the living?
Anytime. It just depends on the soul. Some souls, they cross over. Everyone goes through a life review, and once that's done, you're forgiven for everything. And then you go into the realm of souls or the garden of souls, and that's where you'll see a lot of your relatives. Even your pets are there. For example, the man with the horses, I mean, they're there. So animals that were close to us, they'll be there, and your relatives, your friends that you want to see. And you'll cross over, go through your life review, and then you're led into this garden of souls. And no one really, you don't have to reincarnate. And usually they don't reincarnate until everyone that they've loved that's still back here on the physical plane cross over and you see them again. And then when you see them again, you can either stay there in the dimensional and travel dimensionally or make plans to come back here. But usually not until everyone has crossed over.
How interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, very interesting, George.
That's the way I've always seen it. I'm probably totally wrong, but that's how I've always seen it. That's just.
Well, part of you has to be right, after all.
Yeah, and it's just, what else did you want to?
There's another question here. This is from Tom Rader. Says, hi, girls.
Hey,
can you
Tom.
ask George if grief allows us to remain connected to past loved ones, or does it hold us back?
Good question.
Grief is a very important thing to go through, to grieve someone, and you should find the tools to help you through that. But they really want you, once the soul has made it over, they're free and clear. They're in the light. I've never seen a soul like burning in hell or nailed to anything or nothing like that at all. They just cross over. This was their life lesson here. But grieving, it's important to do. But they really want you to celebrate their lives. They want you to celebrate their lives. In fact, when you do celebrate their lives, they can actually connect with you a lot easier. Because when you're grieving and crying constantly in that mourning state, they don't want to get too close to you because it brings you more pain. So they back off. So once you can settle down and make peace with it, and, they've had their journey, they're gone now, you're still here, they want you to celebrate their life. And if you do that, they can change things for you. And that's through nudging. Souls are not allowed to mess around with their journey. They are allowed to nudge. And so that's why all of us we're all souls having a human experience. So that way we all have that sort of sixth sense, that knowing, You mentioned something. Yeah, you mentioned earlier, whenever you get the feeling like someone's in the room with you and there's no one there,
right,
we usually go to our logical mind and we think, oh, is there somebody at the front door, somebody pulled in the driveway? That is a soul listening to your thoughts. So always try to remember what you were thinking about when you got that sensation, because they're trying to move you on that idea. So say you're doing the dishes, you want to buy a new BMW, and then you begin to talk yourself out of it for whatever reason, and then all of a sudden you get that sensation. Well, that's the soul telling you, yeah, go for it. Go for all the bells and whistles. It'll probably trickle down a little bit, but better than what you ever thought. So what the soul will do, well, what you will do is go look for that BMW, however that is, internet, paper, friends, lots. What the soul will do is jump ahead of you and open up that door for you. And it'll help you to get that BMW. And all of a sudden you've got a BMW sitting in your driveway because everything fell into place very quickly. And that's how souls help us. They're always trying to help us. And when you do feel that it's a soul helping you, always say thank you. Say thank you to them with your heart. And say thank you in the physical world. Say it out loud. Thank you, Uncle Ned, for that. I love you too. And you should say it because you put it in the physical world and it becomes physical. And it keeps that door open between you and them. And they'll bring you more things. They'll help you with other issues too. So.
Okay, well, this is great, George. We're going to take another very short commercial break. I know you've read for many political figures, and you mentioned an interesting name when we were off the air. So we're going to get into all of that, everybody. So stay tuned. You are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio. We're going to take a very short commercial break, and we'll be right back.
John, just because it's summer doesn't mean you can sit around on your backside all day.
Skip.
You never take me anywhere.
Skip. Man, I'm telling you, go paleo. It'll change your life. Skip, skip, skip. Don't get stuck with sounds you don't want to hear. Get Spotify Premium free with Vodafone X Music, plus 20 gigs of 4G data for just €20 top-up. Fuel your beats with free Spotify Premium. Search Vodafone X to find out more. For full terms, conditions and limitations, including our fair usage policy, see Vodafone.ie.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, here with my co-host, PK, who you can find at patriciakirkman.com if you'd like a numerology reading. And we are here tonight with the fabulous George Lugo, who you can find at crystalgatereadings.com. If you would like your own reading with George, he will be happy to schedule something for you. But I'm going to give you a warning. This is one busy guy. So if you want something with George, be prepared to leave a message and he will get back to you, but you may have a bit of a wait. He's in great demand. So, George, we were talking off the air again, and you mentioned a name that interested both of us, both PK and I, Robert Kennedy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a small brush with him. Remember when he did the back of the train tour and he was going through California? He's going all over the place in the back of a train giving a speech. Well, he pulled into my hometown and in California and did his speech. And I was on a flatbed truck with my band. We're playing for everybody. And the train rolled in. We stopped playing. We were just listening. And there's a photograph of him standing in the back of the train. And I was standing next to the photographer that took it because I was on top of the flatbed truck. And I wanted to see better, so I got on top of the cab of the truck. And this photographer said, please let me up there, help me up there. So I got him up there, and there's a shot of him standing in the back of the train talking to everybody, and I'm standing right next to the photographer. But anyway, the speech is done, he leaves, he pulls out, the train goes, and I have this giant drum set that I'm breaking down. Back then I thought more was better, but anyway, so I'm breaking this drum set down, everyone's leaving, the whole place is gone, and I put the drums in my car, and I go, God, I got to go to the bathroom. So I go into the bathroom, I go into a stall, and I'm sitting there, and I hear this train pulling up outside. I thought, oh, another train pulled in, but it was actually Robert's train backed up. And I guess their toilets weren't working or something. So he jumps out of the train, and I see these shiny black shoes in front of the door, and he's banging on the door. Who's in there? And I told him who I was. And he goes, it's okay, sir. Come on in. So he's sitting next to me in the stall, and that divider that you have in stalls, this hand pops underneath it. He goes, Robert Kennedy. And I go, hey, George Lugo. and that's how I met him. And so, so we talked a little bit about different things, and we did our business, and we left, and then years later, actually not that long, maybe about 2 years later, I moved out of my hometown. I moved to Los Angeles, and I was jogging at night because I loved the way everything looked. And I jogged over to the Ambassador Hotel, and that's where the Coconut Grove was. And I went inside there, and I thought about the history of all the bands that have played there, Count Basie and all the big guys, And I'm standing on stage, and it's dark in the stage. And I look over, and I see this little shiny plaque on the wall on the side of the stage. And I walk over, and I look at it, and it says where Robert Kennedy was shot. And I went, wow, full circle, Yeah. So and that was my little brush with Robert Kennedy.
Wow,
but
right.
Anyway, yeah. So
incredible. Now, but you've also read for some very big political figures.
Yes, I have.
I know you had them cordon off your whole neighborhood just so they could get their person in to see you.
Yes, I had, one of the guys that was running for the presidency came here, and they sealed off my neighborhood. And they had, black SUVs and the whole 9 yards. They're banging on the door. They came through as a different name, so I wouldn't know who this guy was. And so they came in to check out my house for, anything that might blow up or something. I don't know what they were looking for, but they looked around. They cleared him. He comes in. He sits down in front of me and says, well, am I going to be the next president of the United States? And I just closed my eyes for a second, and I said, nope, you're not. And so he says, let me say this a different way. And he leaned forward. He goes, will I be the father of the United States? Am I going to be the president, the father of the United States? And I said, I'm sorry, no, you won't be. And he says, well, why? And I said, because if you do, the skeletons are going to come out of your closet and they're going to destroy your family. And I think you're a family man, and I think that you had better think about this twice, because everything's going to come out. And he thought to himself, he goes, oh, yeah, you got a point there. And he dropped out. Right after that, he dropped right out.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
You want to tell us what year that was so we can go back and check who dropped out?
No, just I'll put it this way: the last presidency, it was a big one. So, he dropped out. Yeah, he didn't want to lose his family. There were a lot
of people in the field.
A lot of skeletons.
Yeah. God, yes. God, yes. And a lot of them are rolling out now that we hadn't even thought about. What do you think about all this? Everyone being able to speak what's happened to them in the past. All of a sudden, the old stories coming out: who attacked who did what to who. How do you think that's gonna fare? Because
you're talking about the sexual abuse stuff.
The sexual abuse, you're talking about? The Hollywood thing. Now it's moving its way into the Senate, places like that.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's been going on since the government started.
I know it, but what I'm getting at is, at this point in time, are they going to finally say what has to be done, where they're going to start stepping down those that have created so much chaos, that have gotten away with it for so many years?
Yeah, it's going to change. It's definitely going to change. But a lot of that is just, I don't think they got a fair shake. I mean, anybody can say that about someone and destroy their lives, sure. But so some of it is that, and some of it, is definitely true.
Some of it's anger, window dressing type thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not even worth discussing. It'll go away. It'll finally go away, but not without a few changes, and there'll be positive changes.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it'll be positive changes.
There's already hit in some of the places of the government, so some of that can be redirected and finally cleaned up.
Yeah, it needs to be.
Yeah,
it needs
definitely.
to be. I can tell you, when one of my readings, a man called me, and he barely said a word over the phone. I thought he hung up several times, and I said, I'm getting this elderly man sitting behind the desk that seems to be very important. He's got a business suit on. He's got books behind him, and I can barely see off to his left like a big vault. And it's like in his office, and and now he's pointing down at a name plaque. So I read the name, and he goes, "Oh my God, that's who we're looking for." And he didn't even say that. He goes, "Uh-huh." And I went, "Okay." So he's telling me, "You guys have got to stop fighting. The family is just being destroyed, dismantled. You got to stop fighting." And he didn't say anything. I said, "You guys are in lawsuits now. I mean, it's really bad. You guys were a close family, and now it's just war." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, he's saying 36, 24, 25, blah, blah, blah. I said, write these numbers down. And he says, I got to go. Click. And that was it. And so he called me back about a month later, and he says, those numbers you gave me were the combination to his vault. We have been trying to open that vault for 2 years. And have not been able to do it. And we didn't want to destroy the vault because it's like an heirloom. It's beautiful, and we didn't want to mess it up and drill holes in it or whatever. And everything, the wills, the cash, the gold bullion, the whole 9 yards was in this big, big vault in his house. And so they're still suing each other, though. They're still like after the money now.
Good Lord.
It was all written out who was going to get what, but he died before, nobody knew where the papers were. And so they had to get in that vault. But yeah, I gave him the numbers, and he was real thankful for that. And he said, sorry, I didn't want to say anything when I talked to you because I just want to make sure you were for real. Okay. I could tell you about something that I did here. This family was trying to get a hold of me for quite a long time, and they finally found me, and they asked me to come over and do a reading. So I go to their house, and I'm walking around in this big house, and I pick up a Mary, and I pick up someone like Josephus, and all these different people. And he's going, yeah, that's right. And I said, it's over here. And I walked into the dining room, and the master bedroom was right off of the dining room, and the door was slightly open. And right where the hinges are that hold the door on, I could see through that crack, and there was a woman laying on a hospital bed. And she sat up, and she looked at me, and she told me her name was Mary. And she was just saying thank you and congratulations. to her husband, who I was doing the reading for, and his wife. And that was his old wife. I didn't know that, but she told me that was his old wife. So I told him, I said, there's a Mary in here that's in a hospital bed, and she just wanted to let you know. And I gave him the message. And he started crying, and so he comes into that room, and he goes, come into that room with me. And so he had put the hospital bed right where I saw it, and they moved the big bed over a little bit so the hospital bed would fit next to his bed, to their bed. So he took care of her until she passed. Well, in the corner, which I noticed out here, people put things in corners and cover them up with blankets. I don't know why, but anyway. So in that pile of stuff under the blankets, I saw a chair, and there was a skinny old man sitting in it. And I told him what his name was, and he says, yeah, that's my grandfather. And I said, well, he's sitting in this chair. And he goes, here, let me show you. So he took the blankets off, took a bunch of boxes out, and then pulled this old chair out. He goes, this chair has been in our family for like 119 years. And he says, so that's where my grandfather used to sit, and some other family members. So the whole time that I'm doing this reading, every once in a while, he said, are you getting Jim? And I'm going, Jim? No, Jim. And later on, are you getting Jimmy? Is Jimmy coming through? And I said, no, I'm not getting any Jim. So we got done with the whole thing. And then I said, sorry, I didn't get your Jim. And he goes, oh, no, I was just testing you. Oh,
that's stinker.
And he said, because Jimmy's alive. I'm going, oh, okay. Who's Jimmy, And it was Jim Morrison of The Doors. He's still alive.
Oh.
He lives in He lives in Bend, Oregon. He owns a horse ranch.
Get out of town. Are you kidding?
Yeah, he's alive. And his whole thing, the whole thing in Paris was faked, and so he can get out of there. See,
now this has been talked about. Nobody's been able to really prove it, but you weren't able to on the other side.
It was his family. His family said. His family said it was his family. That was his. It was his cousin that I was reading for, and they're the same age. And he says, "You want to talk to him?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to talk to them." And this is, because I want to find out. He says, "But if I let you talk to him, the FBI is always listening in, and they're going to end up wanting to talk to you." And I said, "Oh, yeah, forget it. I don't want to get that involved. I take your word for it, So I
remember you talked about that before.
Because of all the trouble he was in, when he was alive. He was wanted in Florida for all kinds of things and other various places that he played, and palimony suits all over the place, and indecent exposure charges and all kinds of stuff. And so what he did was he faked his funeral in Paris and then went to South America, and he stayed down there for a lot of years, and then worked his way up to Bend, Oregon, and settled down and has a horse ranch up there. So that's where he is.
Remember when you told me about that?
And his cousin, he says, "Listen, I am so happy with this reading. I love it. I want you to have his chair." I said, "Your grandfather's chair?" He goes, "Yeah. Well, Jim wrote Break On Through in that chair. He wrote a whole bunch of songs in that chair. And my grandfather is the one that came up with The Doors." In the movie The Doors, Jim is talking to the piano player, and they're trying to put a band together, talk about Doors of perception and all that kind of stuff. So they named their band The Doors. But his grandfather's the one that actually came up with that name. So,
incredible.
Yeah, isn't that something?
You could knock me over with a feather when you just said it was Jim Morrison, and he's still alive.
Still alive. But let me take it even further. He gave me this chair, and I said, "Don't you want to keep it? It's a family heirloom." And Jim sat here. Your grandfather's admirals have sat in that chair. All these family members. He says, "No, I want you to have it. It's time for you to let this go." And there's a little. It's an old Morris chair. The kind that you have to put the stick back to lower the back, and it has a little drawer for the feet.
Yeah.
So, and it's got wide handles on it. Well, there's a little part where, like, someone dug their nail into like they were nervous, and they just kept working on a little hole and made it bigger and bigger. Well, that was Jim. He made that hole, working on stuff, and he was just kept picking at it and made a little hole in it. So a lot of that energy is in this chair. And the way I know that is that I took the chair and I had it in my living room in a really show-offy part of the room. I just had it sitting there. And women would come over, and they'd gravitate towards that chair. And there's a nothing chair really to really look at. And they'd walk around that chair, and they'd go, man, I like this chair. You know, I'm saying, yeah, it's a nice chair. And do you mind if I sit in it? And I said, no, go ahead. It's an old chair. I mean, go ahead, have a seat. And they'll sit and go, oh, my God, this chair. I said, keep your clothes on, but that belonged to Jim Morrison. They're just like, oh, my God, take a picture of me in this chair. You know, so I still have that chair.
How many years ago was that?
What's that?
How many years ago did you do that?
Oh, that was that I got the chair?
How many years ago was it that you did the reading and saw that?
Oh, just about 3 years ago, 3 years ago.
So he's probably still alive today.
Oh, yeah, he's like 70-something. Yeah, he still lives up there. Yeah.
You know, and there have been a number of sleuths out there who said that he didn't die, faked his own death. His coffin was too short for his body. There's a lot of things that weren't adding up.
Right. And his manager got there. His manager flew there just in time to watch it go into the ground. So he never got to see the body or anything. There's only 4 people there that saw it go down. And, that chair has such an effect that I put it in storage. Because everyone that came over went right to that chair. And even though the guy is not passed away, his energy that sexual energy is all over it.
Yeah.
So,
God.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
I'm in shock. I will not be able to sleep tonight, George. This is an amazing reveal.
Yeah, so he's alive. Yeah.
I wonder what our audience is thinking right now. I hope you will all give us some feedback on what George just shared. This is an amazing piece of information.
Yeah.
That is incredible, George. My God.
So
wow. I mean,
I have a lot of those kinds of things that have happened to me, and I just Patricia PK knows. I mean, she knows a lot of things that have happened to me.
God, yes.
Yeah, so she can tell you all. Yeah, and then some. Yeah.
We both get off the air to hurry.
Yeah, that's right.
Now one other thing I wanted to circle back, and I apologize to people in the chat room because I know you've all asked some great questions, but I want to give you, George, time to talk about the Men in Black because you have encountered them, and there's a lot of people that want to know what you think about the Men in Black.
I had a friend that was,
tell us what happened.
No, I had a friend that was a world traveler, and it's a long story about him, but the Men in Black were interested in him. And at the time, he was living up in the Hollywood Hills in L.A., and I used to go and visit with him, and we'd talk, have these great conversations about the world and all this. And he got visited by these guys. They just showed up. You know, they just showed up at the house there, and he was staying at someone else's house. So they just showed up, and they just kind of looked at me, and I just remember their eyes being real black, like empty, hollow eyes, but they had glasses on. And they just walked in, and he seemed their skin look kind of bloody and almost like dead. I mean, they had this really weird complexion, and they both looked pretty much the same. And they walked in, and I got the vibe. It's like, get out. It's not, could you please leave us alone for a moment? It was like, get out. And I said, gotta go. And I just took off, and I left. And when I saw him, he says, yeah, they asked me a bunch of questions. And I said, did they tell you not to leave? And he says, yeah, they told me to stay put. And he left after that. He wasn't there much longer, and he took off. He gained this huge inheritance, and then he just left. So, but anyway, yeah, that's my little brush with the Men in Black. But I remember the skin.
The skin didn't look.
It didn't look healthy. It looked kind of gray. Yeah, it looked sort of kind of gray and ruddy looking, and just like they were falling apart, almost. And I don't know, man. It's a different vibe altogether that they have. But anyway, that's my little brush with those guys.
And when we were talking off the air about them, you said you felt like they were being controlled by some other frequency.
Yeah, I feel like they're sentinels. Yeah, I feel like they're sentinels, like they're sent out by someone to do whatever they have to do to get the job done, Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like they killed anyone, They're like information gatherers in a sense. But it does change your life. I mean, people have probably, disappeared because of those guys, but I can't prove that, and I wouldn't, I don't, me telling you all this.
They have threatened people.
Yeah.
In fact, they haven't necessarily killed anybody, but they threatened people that don't talk about this or don't talk about that. Mostly UFO related is the report that we get.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if you see them, you'll never forget it. And I never forgot this. And this was all the way back in like 78 or so. when I had that encounter with those guys. It wasn't really me, it was him, but I just left, man. I said, I'm out of here, so.
Yeah. Be out of there too. God.
Those in your audience that are sensitives, that have a little bit of mediumship or feel like it, go with it. Just relax with it. Let it happen. Don't be afraid of it. Just allow it to happen. It won't hurt you. It won't harm you. You'll benefit from them. And just use your heart. Don't use your head so much trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Just kind of go. Let them talk to you the way they want to talk to you. You won't be disappointed. When I was a little boy, under 5, I went to a lot of funerals. It seemed like my mom's side of the family that the elders were all dying off, and I was constantly going to funerals. And this one time, a big church, and the coffin was open, and it was up at the top. And it came to the point, I was looking across over everyone's head, and I could see the coffin way up there on the altar. And there was a guy sitting on the altar behind the coffin, kicking his legs back and forth and smiling and looking around the room, and he had his hands to the side, and he just looked really happy. And I didn't quite understand funerals then, but I knew something had happened, And anyway, it was our time to go up, and long procession, long line, and we get up there. And when we get up there, he was in the coffin. I said, wait a minute, that guy was just up there a moment ago. So, if you're having those kinds of experiences, believe it. I mean, that's really happening. It's a very fine line between here and there, really. And everyone, when you're born with a certain frequency and a certain vibration. And because of those determine your sensitivity to what's in life. And if you're always questioning things, that's a good thing. Just kind of, follow through with it. Lots of times it won't hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
now,
dreams.
Yes.
Dreams. Yeah, you're a pro at this, Patricia.
I love dreams. Thank you.
I feel like you're more awake when you're asleep. That's where all your truths are. And there's a lot of things that are there that help you through your day. You may not even realize it, but things that you dream about percolate and have little spikes in the day sometimes. And there'll be like little humps that you get over. Like, how did that happen, And a lot of it has to do with your dreams, kind of letting you know it's about to happen. But pay attention to your dreams. They tell a great story every time.
Well, they do, and it's very useful. And what I found is people have gotten into this mindset of wanting a quick fix, and they don't see dreams as a part of that. They see it as too much work. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to pay attention. But they're missing so much. We spend half our lives asleep, so if you're not paying attention to your dreams, you're missing half your life, basically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And try to go to bed not worried. If you go to bed worried and fall asleep, those dreams just beat you up all night long, and you wake up really tired. Try to have, even if you have to have abstract thoughts as you're falling asleep, just try to be pleasant.
Clear your mind.
Yeah, clear your mind. Even if they're abstract, it's even better. Like, you fall asleep a little quicker. But just try to, neutralize all that stuff. That way you'll have better dreams, better messages, that kind of thing. And you'll wake up more joyful. That's the trick, waking up joyful.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Well, George, I am so sorry that we have to end the show, because PK and I could talk to you all night. I know our listeners could listen to you all night.
Well, thank you have
everybody. Been just a wonderful, wonderful guest, and we hope you'll come back and visit with us again and share more of your great adventures with the other side. It's just been tremendous tonight, George.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we want to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate.
Right.
And Happy New Year, too, is coming right up. I can't believe it. What happened to the year, huh?
Yeah.
Well, God. Makes me
clean slate coming up. Clean slate.
I know, clean slate. We need a clean slate. So anyways, make sure everybody go to our Facebook page, give us a like, follow us so you'll know what's coming up. We always announce our shows, let you know what to expect. Next week, we have Paul Davids, Blowing America's Mind, all the MK Ultra experiments. You're going to hear about it here on Supernatural Girls. But you want a reading with George Lugo? We can't recommend him highly enough. Go to crystalgatereadings.com, and you'll be able to contact George there and set up your own private reading. Again, highly recommend George to all of our audience members. The best of the best. That's you, George.
Thank you so much.
That is for sure.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, we love you, and
listeners.
we're so grateful. Yes, thank you everybody for listening tonight. We hope you have a happy and safe holiday. And be sure to join us next week. We've got an all-new show, so don't miss it. And until then, everybody, we will see you on the Blue Highway. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.